whatever's considered plain, God says draw it out and serve it. So, a lot of times we think what we have to offer is kind of like water. It's plain. Everyone else has it. Everyone else drinks it. It's common. It's bland. It's kind of tasteless. It's not really inspiring. Jesus could turn that plain message on the inside of us into something fruitful. We might say, hey, everybody's heard the message of Jesus. If I share it with somebody, it's just going to be like the same old thing that everybody's already told somebody. No, it's not. Because when it comes out of you, it's different. The way you share it, it's different. From your testimony, it's different. From your heart and your love for Jesus, it's different. And so what you think might be a common message on the inside, it's life to someone else. It's wine. And wine is a representation of life, joy, blessing. That's what wine represents. My cup runneth over. And so don't think that the message on the inside of you is plain. Don't think that the message on the inside of you is common.
That's right.
It's special. And as you draw it out and serve it, God will make it fruitful, and He'll turn it into wine. Yeah. So we just have to draw it out and serve it. Amen?
Amen.
Okay, so here's our text. John chapter 2. Love the book of John.
Yeah.
Or the Gospel of John, rather. Gospel of John, chapter 2. Verse 1 through 12. I'm going to read all the way through, and then we'll come back to verse number 1. And we're going to have some fun with this today. I was actually having a lot of fun with the Lord on this, and we're going to have some fun today. Gospel of John, chapter 2, verse 1. The next day, there was a wedding celebration in the village of Cana in Galilee. Jesus' mother was there, and Jesus and his disciples were also invited to the celebration. I like how they called it a celebration and not a wedding. Mm-hmm. We're going to come back to that. The wine supply ran out during the festivities, so Jesus' mother told him they have no more wine. Jesus said, "Dear woman, that's not our problem. What is that to you and me?" He replied, "My time has not yet come." But his mother told the servants, "Do whatever he tells you." Standing nearby were 6 stone water jars used for Jewish ceremonial washing. Each could hold 20 to 30 gallons. We'll just say 25 gallons each. We're talking 150 gallons of water here. Jesus told the servants, "Fill the jars with water." When the jars had been filled, he said, "Now dip some out and take it to the master of ceremonies." So the servants followed his instructions. When the master of ceremonies tasted the water that was now wine, not knowing where it had come from, though of course the servants knew, he called the bridegroom over. "A host always serves the best wine first," he said. "Then, when everyone has had a lot to drink, he brings out the less expensive wine. But you have kept the best wine until now." This miraculous sign at Cana in Galilee was the first time Jesus revealed his glory, and his disciples believed in him. After the wedding, he went to Capernaum for a few days with his mother and his brothers and his disciples. Okay, so we got Jesus at the wedding celebration with the disciples, with mom, ran out of wine. Mom tells him to take care of it. He's like, "It's not my problem." She turns to the servants, do whatever they say. He tells them to do some stuff, and they give it, and now there's 150 gallons of wine here at the celebration, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, let's start in verse 1. This is funny. The next day there was a wedding celebration in the village of Cana in Galilee. First thing I want to say, this is just kind of off the note really here. Weddings should be celebrated. Yeah. This is something we celebrate. It's a celebration. In Jewish culture, you see, because Jewish culture, right, they were the people of God. They got the law of God. They got the word of God. The prophets came to them. They were God's chosen people. So they understood that a marriage was a spiritual bonding. Yeah. It wasn't a good idea, something they ought to do because they're living together. No. They don't live together and consecrate until... Now listen, that's another thing. Their consecration happens during the wedding ceremony. It happens during the celebration. After the ceremony, the bride and groom go into a room by themselves to eat, spend some time with one another. That's like the first time they've ever been alone with one another. Mm-hmm. And that's when they consecrate the marriage. and then they come back out, and the celebration continues. Man, they knew how to do it back in the day. And listen, this wasn't grape juice.
No.
This was wine.
This was wine, yeah.
And when you study the Jewish wedding ceremony, wine is used in several parts throughout the ceremony, where the bride and groom drink together, and different family members drink together, and everybody drinks at the same time. There's a lot of wine used in the Jewish ceremony. So running out, we're going to get there, but running out of wine is a big deal. So the next day there was a wedding celebration. Weddings should be celebrated. Now, Jesus' mother was there. Jesus' disciples were also invited to the celebration. I like that. It didn't say to the wedding. They're invited to the celebration. Weddings are something we celebrate. Verse 3. The wine supply ran out during the festivities, so Jesus' mother told them they have no more wine. Now, some translations say they wanted more wine. When you read it literally, it does say they ran out of wine. But some translations, maybe context or culture, we don't really get 2,000 years later. Maybe it translates better. They wanted more wine, but not every translation says that. But long story short, the wine supply ran out. That's a big deal at a wedding. They needed more wine. Maybe they were at a part of the celebration where they still had one more of those ceremonial drinkings to go, and they're all out of wine. So Jesus' mother is worried about this ceremony. They have no more wine.
Yeah.
It's not because everybody still wants to get drunk. We got some ceremony to accomplish here still.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we've got some stuff that needs to take place, and I want this wedding to be... What mother doesn't want a wedding to be perfect?
Yeah. Yeah.
This is a typical mom right here. Something's going wrong.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Mm-hmm.
Jesus, you need to rectify this situation.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So, you know, we would have probably said, hey, they've had enough wine to drink, okay? They're probably a little bit too far as it is, you know. They probably had too much already. So, you know, we ain't going to give them any more wine. Now, this is the first recorded miracle in the Scriptures. Recorded miracle.
Yeah.
We don't know what happened before this.
Yeah.
I don't know that if one day all of a sudden Jesus became the miracle maker, because at age 12 he was talking to the Pharisees, blowing their minds.
Yeah.
So we don't know from 12 to 30 what life was like. We're going to see a little bit right here, I think. Coming up, I'm going to show it to you. But we don't know what life was like right there. Did he just all of a sudden become the miracle maker, boom, when the Spirit came upon him at the time of baptism? I don't know. He was operating in some superior wisdom before then, you know? And so you think about these things. So the law of first mentions is something important. So we really want to look at this first mentioned miracle, the first recorded miracle. The law of first mention says there's something important going on here. So Mary looked at Jesus and said, they have no more wine. This is a big deal, right? Mother of Jesus looking at her son saying they have no more wine. Jesus isn't a winemaker. He's a carpenter.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
If he was a winemaker, it might kind of make sense. They have no more wine. You need to go to the stockpile and bring some more wine. He's a carpenter. But she's looking at her son. And so there's a couple things I want to point out here. Number one, we already talked about that she's concerned for the celebration. She's concerned for the ceremony. But number two, and this is gospel according to Ryan, she knew Jesus was a miracle maker. In my opinion, I think maybe something happened in the past. Jesus, we're running low on flour. You're going to have to go to town and get some more flour. No need for that, Mother. Just dip in and draw some more out. So she just kept dipping in, and that one scoop just continued to be one scoop.
Yeah.
So she could finish the meal. Who knows?
Yeah, 'cause why would she ask?
You know, why would she ask?
Yeah.
Why would she look at him at such confidence
Yeah. Yeah.
and say, they need more wine?
Yeah.
And how does he respond? What's this got to do with me?
Yeah.
What's this got to do with me and you? This doesn't concern us. You know, that's really like the response I would say. I'd be like, listen, this is not our problem. They didn't plan well, okay? They bit off a little more than they chewed.
Yeah.
How is this my problem? They probably shouldn't have invited the Smiths.
Yeah.
You know, they drink a lot. You know, they've had too much already.
Yeah.
They're the ones crying, wanting more. You know, why do I have to pick up their slack?
Yeah.
You know, my time hasn't come yet. My time hasn't come to be revealed yet, Mom.
Yeah.
You know, and which tells me that he's revealed some things in secret.
Yeah. She knew who he was.
Mom, could you imagine living with Jesus, the Son of God, at age 12, blowing the minds of the Pharisees, and now all of a sudden, out of nowhere, just turning water into wine? What's that look like in between? You know, Mom had complete confidence that her son, who she knows was born through a virgin body, she lived with Jesus. She knew who he was. And so then she looks at the servants and she says, do whatever he tells you. I can just see it, right? Mary's like, Jesus, they're out of wine. And he looks at her and says, Mom, what does that have to do with you and me? That's not our problem. My time has not yet come. She's just kind of looking at him, blinks a couple times, and then looks at the servants, do whatever he tells you to do, and walks off.
Yeah.
That's a confident mom right there.
Yeah.
She like totally ignores the response that her son just gave her, looks at the servants and says, whatever he tells you to do, you do it. And she walks off,
Yeah.
knowing he's going to rectify the situation.
Yeah.
He's going to come through. I like that. Mom totally ignored her son. Do whatever he tells you to do, because she knew he was going to help. And this, so when I started reading that and I started seeing that, I'm like, well, that's interesting. And I got reminded of the parable of the two sons of the vineyard owner. He went to the one son. You remember this. He went to the one son and he said, hey, go out and work in my vineyard. I need some work done. And one son said, you know what? I don't want to do that. I don't want to work out in the vineyard. I got other things to do. And he goes off. Well, later his heart convicts him and he feels bad and he goes and he does the work. Well, the father goes to the other son and says, hey, son, I need you to go work out in the vineyard. The other son says, okay, yeah, I'll go do it. Well, he doesn't go do it. It was all lip service. And Jesus said, who got the blessing? Well, the one who did the work.
Yeah.
So what if he said he wasn't going to do it? He mumbled a little bit. He actually ended up getting up and going and doing the work. Kind of reminded me of this right here. She's like, well, what do you want me to do? My time is not yet come. This isn't our problem. And she just says, do whatever he says and walks off. You know? He's going to rectify the situation. He's going to take care of Mom. And he's going to take care of that wedding celebration. But he did it for Mom.
Yeah.
So let's keep reading. This is great. So standing nearby, so Jesus said, dear woman, that's not our problem. What is that to you and me? He replied, my time has not yet come. But his mother told the servants, do whatever he tells you. Just completely ignoring what her son just said. That's awesome. Verse 6. Standing nearby were 6 stone water jars used for Jewish ceremonial washing. In other words, no drinking.
Yeah.
No drinking out of these things. That's law. You wash here.
Yeah.
That's not a drinking jar.
Yeah.
That's a washing jar. We're talking 150 gallons of water. You know, because when they washed, they had to go from one to the other, to the other, to the other, and work their way down before it was considered clean. But Jesus came and wrecked all that anyway, right?
Yeah.
And he said, listen, it's not what goes into the mouth that makes a man unclean. It's that which comes out of the mouth. For out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks.
Yes.
And so he didn't care they were Jeremotional.
That's right.
He didn't care they were ceremonial washing jars. I tried to put all 3 words in one. He didn't care they were ceremonial washing jars. You know?
Yeah.
He's gonna take care of Mama.
Yeah.
So each could hold 20 to 30 gallons. Let's just meet in the middle and say 25. We're talking 150 gallons of water here. That's a lot of wine.
That's a lot of wine.
That's a lot of wine. 150 gallons.
Yeah. That's a party.
That's a party. So Jesus told the servants, fill the jars with water. I don't know about you, but you don't start with water. I think you start with grapes. When the jars had been filled, and I wonder how long that takes, really. How long does it take to fill 6 25-gallon pots with water in those days?
Yeah.
Whoosh, whoosh,
Yeah.
whoosh. You know what I'm saying? Pumping from the ground.
Yeah,
Maybe walking to the river and back. Who knows? That takes a while.
Yeah.
You know, Jesus just sitting back.
Yeah.
He ain't worried.
Because that's
You
what's in
know?
the
That probably took a while, you know? So we've got a time lapse
Starting
right
5
here.
gallons
Just
is
do
Just
a
doing
lot.
5 gallons is a lot. So we got a bit of a time lapse right here.
Yeah.
And The celebration continues, the ceremony continues, so they knew how to party back in the day. They would stretch it out. I'd like to be involved in traditional Jewish ceremony, man. That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
That'd be fun. So he told the servants, fill the jars with water. When the jars had been filled, he said, now dip some out and take it to the master of ceremonies. That's a big no-no. When you're a Jew, you don't dip out water in a cup and take it to someone for them to drink out of the ceremonial washing jar. You don't do that anyway. So the servants are going against the law to obey Jesus. That's a whole other message there. So the servants followed his instructions. When the master of ceremonies tasted the water that was now wine, not knowing where it had come from, though of course the servants knew, he called the bridegroom over. All right, let's stop right there a minute. Now, when did the water become wine? I think about these things. Did it become wine after they were filled? Did it become wine when he dipped the cup in? Did it become wine when he walked during the walk over? You wonder, did the servant know it was wine? Maybe he dipped it in, all of a sudden it became wine. He's like, whoo, this is cool. And he walks it over to the master of ceremony, big old smile on his face.
Yeah.
Here you go, sir.
Yeah.
I think you're going to like this. Or was it water all the way over? And this servant's going, dude, I hope Jesus is who his mom says he is. You know what I'm saying? Was it a faith walk or was it a confident walk? We don't know. And then he handed it to the master of ceremonies. Did it turn into wine at that moment? Did the master of ceremonies even look? Did he just grab it and drink? Did it turn wine when it hit his lips? We don't know when it turned into wine. It doesn't say. But I think about these things. But we know that it was a favorable outcome. If it was water out of the ceremonial washing jar, he probably would have went, spit it all out. If I was a servant, I'd be concerned at that moment. But he drank it and his eyes got big. And he probably took another drink. And so the servant's probably calming down right about now if it was water all the way through.
Yeah.
He's probably thinking, okay, favorable outcome. I'm feeling good about this.
Yeah.
Jesus came through. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Woo! I'm keeping my job. And so, so we just don't know. We don't know when the water got turned into wine, but we know that the master of ceremonies had a favorable expression. He didn't spit it out. He took a drink and his eyes lighted up. He might have even took another drink. And then he called over the bridegroom. And he said, a host always serves the best wine first. He said, then, when everyone else has had a lot to drink and their taste buds, are a little singed, he brings out the less expensive wine. But you have kept the best wine until now. This miraculous sign at Cana in Galilee was the first time Jesus revealed his glory. I guess it was time, wasn't it? Yeah. And his disciples believed in him. So, God does not serve cheap wine. He serves the good stuff. When you share the gospel, you're sharing the best message that human ears could ever hear. It may seem common to us because it's in us and we've heard it, for how many years we've been in the kingdom. We've heard this message. We've read this message. We know this message. So it might seem common to us because we hear it all the time. But there's people out there who don't hear it. Maybe have never heard it. Maybe have never heard it.
Right.
Or maybe have only heard it a couple of times. Statistically, it says that someone needs to hear the gospel 7 times before they make a decision. That's a statistic that's out there.
Yeah.
So sometimes some person is 1, maybe sometimes one person is 14. So they, come in the middle. The average is 7.
Yeah.
So you don't know who that person has heard the gospel message from. Maybe it was from a complete jerk.
Yeah. Bad message.
The bad message.
Yeah.
It happens. I've heard them.
Yes.
I've given them. I've given some horrible messages. I tell you. I feel bad. I did a wedding one time, and when I do weddings, I don't charge. My charge is let me preach the gospel for a few minutes. I preached the gospel at this wedding. It was horrible. It really was. It was bad. I felt so bad for the bride and groom. I did. It was that bad, you know. I still have yet to see him again. When I do, I'm going to apologize. It was that bad. So you never know.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, you never know how they've heard the message before.
Yeah.
And that message that is in you could be wine to them. It could be life.
Yes.
It could be joy.
Mhm.
It could be fruitful. You know, we just never know.
Yeah.
So don't ever think that your words are common like water. Because no one's ever said it the way you've said it.
Yeah, that's good.
No one's ever said it through your life and through your experience and through your testimony and through your heart. Only you can say it through your heart.
That's right.
Only you can say it through your testimony.
Amen. That's good.
So it's not common.
Yeah.
It's not common. It's specific to you.
That's good.
Huh?
Mhm.
You may think you're just a simple clay jar used for someone to wash their hands in, but you're more than that.
Amen.
You house the Spirit of God. We have the kingdom of heaven within us.
Mhm.
Ain't nothing common about that.
Nothing.
Ain't nothing bland about that.
Mhm.
There's life there. There's life there. And if supplies run out, don't trip. Don't worry about it. God saves the best till last. Amen?
Amen.
So God, we worship you. We thank you, Lord, for your word, your message, God. We thank you that, Lord, even though we might think that what we have to offer, the message inside of us is common, bland, kind of like water, everyone else is saying it, God, it's different when we say it. Lord, it's unique to us. It's unique to how you created us, God. So I just encourage everybody that hears this, don't ever consider yourself common or bland or like everyone else. You are unique. And the message that God has put in you is fruitful. It's like wine. It may seem bland at first, but go ahead and draw it out and serve it, just like the servant did to the master of ceremonies. He drawed it out and served it. It became wine, and it became the best wine that MC had ever tasted.
Yes.
And so I thank you, Lord, that you've got the best wine on the inside of us. So God, draw that out. Encourage us, strengthen us, God. Bring us to a place where we can encourage and in faith, Lord, draw that out and serve it and be fruitful to someone's life. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Amen.